This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Yes, I'm a Jew, I'm a Levite, I'm a descendant of Aaron of Cohen. So if you can't stand Jews, you're probably not going to like me. But I'm Old New Testament believer, and what I'm going to do today is tie the Middle East events and other events like Ukraine and Russia into Bible prophecy. And the White House recently, like hours ago, said that Iran is going to attack Israel. They didn't say in the next 24 or 48 hours, they didn't say that, but they may have told Israel that, I don't know. Bear in mind that America has, in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks or something like that, made several calls about this that proved to be untrue. Not that America was lying, the attack never came, which does not mean America was lying, it means Iran backed off. We're going to discuss why I think this time it's real, and we're going to take a very hard look at some Iranian weapons, and I'm going to explain my sources on this and what I think is real and not real. And we're going to talk about Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, and America and what they are likely to do and not do, and NATO, and Bible prophecies relating to Iran, Iraq, and Syria, particularly in Jeremiah 49. We're going to talk about Jeremiah 30 and Zechariah 12 into 13. Okay? And Zechariah 12 is the next so-called war against Israel, not Gog and Magog. Okay? When you have Gog and Magog, it's not a siege. Zechariah is a siege, a surrounding, and the attack while they're surrounding. That's what's happening to Israel today. Hezbollah, Hamas, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen. Yemen is Edom, by the way. And it's also referred to as Sheba, but it's Edom, ancient Edom. And we're going to talk about, from the best of my digging deep into it, that's what I got. And it seems to be backed up by scriptures because it references Edom with the Red Sea, and I believe that's it. Moab is southern Jordan, and Ammon is northern Jordan. Okay? And we're going to get into this, what Iran wants, what America wants, what Israel wants, what it's going to look like. And yeah, I believe this is going to come down. And rather soon, and I'll tell you why. And basically, that's what I've got for today. And what I need to do, and I'm sure some of you are going to leave, but that's okay, you're not very interested if you're going to leave, is I'm going to go into the live stream and make sure that we have sound and picture, which we do. And then I'm going to put a couple of 2 posts up in the chat, which are not going to take time at all. Very quick. And it gives people a chance to come in. And then we'll begin. And it's not going to be a long time. I just don't like to, run a dead screen out there or something like that. So I gotta concentrate here so I don't make a typo. Okay. And now I'm going to put my email address up. If you want to send in questions that are relevant to what we're talking about. And you could also send in prayer requests, toss requests, and so forth. Just about done. And Okay, I'm done with that. And being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. I want to start off with the weather. And I want to give you an explanation because you don't live in Israel and you won't know these things about the weather. Right now it's 79, the high will be 92. Tomorrow 91, Friday 90, Saturday 90, Sunday 90, 91 Monday, Tuesday 90, then Wednesday 89, 89, and then Friday next week we get down to 88. This is rather unseasonably cool for Israel. Usually August is the worst month of the year for heat, and it would frequently hit 100 and over 100. As my regular subscribers know, that hasn't been happening. We've been getting rarely would it ever hit 100 in August. I think once, twice, or something, very little. And we were getting a lot of 94, 95, 96, just stuff like that, which is, previous August, it wouldn't be unusual to get 103 or even 105 or 6. September is usually starts off with a continuation of this heat, and in mid-September you notice it dropping, and then kind of the third or fourth week you start getting highs in the 80s. We're getting that now. Well, it'll be the beginning of September when it happens. It's unusual, and I'm getting an idea. I don't know if it's me or the Lord's reminding me of this. I don't know. That he could be reducing the temperature because Israel is going to take a hit, and the electric might go out. And while we know about the bad ones getting cut off, we also have to leave room for the poor ones, the simple ones, that he's going to raise up. He's going to have mercy on them too. So for him to have mercy on them, he has to have mercy on the weather in general, if we're talking about the weather. Now, I have no scripture for this, and I could be wrong about this. It's a hunch I have, and I'm not even sure on this hunch, okay? The White House, I just picked it up some hours ago, said that Iran's getting ready to hit Israel. Now, they've been wrong before. Now, why do I think they're not wrong this time? Because what happened in Hezbollah. Now, I have to tell you a couple of things here. The October 7th thing that happened in Israel, I'm pretty sure it was allowed to happen. Okay? Netanyahu was not invited to the White House, and then someplace around September 20th or the 23rd, he goes to the White House. Well, shortly before he went, Biden pops up out of nowhere and says, yeah, Netanyahu could come anytime. I think it was the 23rd he comes. And then October 7th happened. And many countries are saying that Israel was informed of this. Even people in Israel government are saying it was the case. Many soldiers know it. There's probably about 1 million or 2 or 3 million people in Israel that know that what happened was extremely extraordinary. Okay? We have so many defenses for any kind of an invasion coming in from Gaza, and they were all let down, except there were soldiers in watchtowers monitoring the cameras, and they were screaming, and the military was telling them, no, you're wrong, forget about it, and these people wound up getting killed and taken hostage. Several were soldiers, were females, and I guess some are still hostages. There was a hostage they freed yesterday. He was a Bedouin Muslim that they had been holding, and they freed him. Curious, isn't it? What was it the day before? It was maybe 36 hours ago or something like that. The time frames go off because we're here, and I don't know what it is, 8:30, 8:40, or 8:42 in the morning. Okay, why will Iran attack? The version we're getting from the Israeli government is 6,700 missile launches were set up to launch into Israel from Lebanon, and we sent 100 planes, and they made several sweeps, and they had attacked all these targets. Do I think that is true? I pretty much do. They still have Katyushas. You see, the thing is this. The missiles that we destroyed were not the Katyusha types that go 8 to 12 miles, were the serious missiles that can travel deep into Israel. How accurate they are is another story, but they were setting those launches up. Now, I've told you this a million times. You could have 17 missiles in inventory, but if you got 100 or 200 missile launches, you're severely impeded. Why? These are 25, 30-foot missiles, stuff like that. Big missiles, they're probably 24 inches or more thick. And they need a real launcher, okay? They can't be set up on a little thing that's 1 meter high, 1 meter out, so it's 1 meter up, 1 meter out, and then maybe 1.5 meters in an angle like this, and you lay the Katyusha on it and you fire. And Katyushas are not aimed, it's a terrorist weapon. And that's what they fired at us, and they threw some drones at us too. Now, we're being told that they have electric drones that are, substantial weaponized drones, suicide, whatever, and they are very hard for our radar to pick up. Because with an electric motor, you wouldn't get a heat signature, okay, of what you're used to with a rocket engine. Moving along, the damage to Israel was not much. Nasrallah blew up a chicken coop, and the social media in the Arab countries were making fun of Nasrallah because he gave a speech that he did such a great attack, and he was denying that we destroyed their missile launches, although there are pictures of us, some pictures of us making destructions in Lebanon. So the Arabs are making fun of him, which makes me think that it's probably real, that we did do it. And Nasrallah's been rather quiet and subdued since then. So I would assume, you see, they're all liars. All the leaders of every single country, bar none, lie. But you listen to what they say, and then you look at their actions. And their actions are generally not lies, but their motives can be concealed, So then you try to put the pieces together and see what's really going on. But if you just listen to them and read the newspapers or the internet, you're not going to get the reality, okay? Hezbollah said they hit 11 military bases, and I see no evidence of that in Israel. And you need to understand this, and you probably don't understand it. You see, you're never going to understand the news well if you're not getting it from people that lived in Israel for many years. Not somebody that goes back and forth and made 30 trips to Israel. Look, you make a trip to Israel, it's not living in Israel, okay? Forget it, all right? This is the reality. The military is we the people in Israel. Everybody knows friends whose kids are in the military, friends who themselves are in the militaries. Neighbors who are in the military or their kids are in the military. Aunts, uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces. everybody knows somebody else in the military, okay? And if 11 military bases were hit, we would be hearing about it. It's not something the government, in their most insane moment, would attempt to cover up. It's just way too much. Okay? And how come we managed to conduct so many airstrikes? Understand there was 100 planes at one time in the air, and there was a total of 200 planes used, so they probably made 2 runs. So you got to look at the whole picture, and I don't believe the 11 bases were hit. Okay, now when Iran launched their attack on us on April 13th, they're saying, this is what Iran is saying, that they sent 7 missiles that were not hypersonic at the Natim Air Force Base that Israel has, where they keep the F-35s. And these F-35s are very guarded and cherished by Israel. Now, if they hit the base and caused damage, we would have lost F-35s. Again, this is something we never heard of in Israel. Okay? The F-35 has America's best radar. I think they call it X radar or X-band radar. And it's rumored by most people to be the best radar in the world. And from there, Israel can monitor Iran launching missiles. This is super radar, okay? In addition, Israel has the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3, the David Sling, the Iron Dome. Iran said they launched 7 missiles at this base and 5 landed on the base. You know, so does Iran lie? Profusely. They're profound liars, as is Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. They constantly talking about attacks on the port in Haifa and attacks in Haifa that we in Israel never hear about. And you can't conceal it. You could drive by on the road and look at the port in Haifa. People live, you know, within, I don't know, maybe 300, 500 meters of the port. And there's stores maybe 200 meters from the port or something like that. You can't, you know, there's falafel stands, shops. You can't conceal it. It's Israel. It's not America where people are reading the news and they live 1,800 miles away. You can drive from one end of Israel to the other in about 6 hours. It's the size of New Jersey. Okay? You can't cover this up in Israel. It doesn't work. It's not going to get you anywhere. So, Netanyahu covering this stuff up with the cooperation of the media, some of the media hates him, doesn't make any sense. Then comes social media, and that doesn't make any sense. We didn't pick it up at all. So I'm giving you both sides of the equation here, okay? And then we'll go, when we're finished, we'll go to Bible prophecy to get our final analysis, and then we'll make a decision if we think it's real or not. I can't guarantee you what I'm going to tell you is absolutely what's going to happen. Prophecy tells us the end of things. It doesn't tell us what's going to happen along the way, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You have to remember that. Now, could this have been true? It might have been true. And they didn't cause any significant damage at the base. And then they ran around saying, oh, we knocked down 99% of the missiles. Well, we didn't hear about any death and destruction in Israel, in the cities, or anything like that. Okay? Now, if Iran wants to knock off Israel, with Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and so forth, they may not knock out the cities. They want the cities so that people can move into the houses. They'll just kill the Jews. People move in, they have all the appliances, the clothing, stuff like that. High rises. And make Israel a Muslim state, knock down all the synagogues, temples, and all that stuff, right? That's their dream, never going to happen. So, we're kind of in the dark. I know when Israel attacked Iran, it hit 2 bases, caused a lot of destruction. And they don't talk about this, but Israel hit 5 nuclear facilities, not the facilities per se, because they're deep underground. We didn't have the bombs to do it, but we hit the radar. We took the radar out, sending a warning signal to Iran that we can come back and take out your nuclear facilities. Okay? Netanyahu's latest threat was that Israel will go in and destroy your oil and natural gas industry, blow your piers up, your ports, so you can't offload the stuff onto the ships, blow up the storage tanks, probably the refineries, the oil wells, the pipelines, and all of that. Israel's air defense stinks. Russia's air defense stinks. Ukraine proved it. Okay? So the sort of paradox here is maybe Israel can't defend against the massive swarm attack of missiles from Iran and drones, along with launches coming from the Houthis, which would be very ineffective. Hezbollah, even if it's just a lot of Katyushas. Syria, where Iran has moved a lot of their IRGC troops, launching, Iraq launching, and so forth. Overwhelm on missile defense systems, and then missiles keep landing. Now Iran is facing a wild card here. 2 aircraft carriers, I found out that they're both in the Sea of Oman, which is just outside the Persian Gulf. And it's probably not likely for Iran to be able to get a radar lock and launch any missiles at them over there, but it would be likely that many of their missiles could hit Iran. And they could launch aircraft that, the flight time would be mere minutes to hit Iran. The start would be probably F-22 Raptors going in, taking out radar, opening up corridors. Then F-15s, F-16s, F-35s would go in and start bombing targets. America would more than likely isolate its attacks to radar, command and control facilities that Iran has that's above ground, intelligence facilities, and any of their missile launch sites, missile and weapon storage, and things like that. They would try to keep human casualties, non-military, down to a bare minimum. Iran knows this. Now, what Iran might try is to assemble thousands of missile launches like Hezbollah was doing, and launch a massive amount of missiles at Israel in a matter of hours, maybe 2-3 hours, 1 hour, to swarm attack us. and then stop and hope by the time America could come to making a decision as to what to do, the missiles are all finished. And then Iran comes out with a public announcement, our retaliation for the assassination is now complete, it's over. And hope that America does nothing about it, which they have a decent chance could be the case. Okay? There are loose ends to this. One is Jordan, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain said they'll take down missiles to protect Israel. Iran said if they do that, they'll consider them the enemy and attack them. Iran may not do that. They may just think, well, they'll take some of our missiles down, but not enough. They might send a massive amount of missiles towards the air bases to knock out our planes. Now, Israel does have some underground airplane hangars, and they keep the F-35s well protected, and I'm sure, see, the flight time of these missiles would give Israel enough time to blow the siren and the pilots jump into the F-35s and take off, and the refueling tankers take off. And once these planes become airborne, Iran could kiss goodbye to its economy because Israel will take out their oil and natural gas industry. They probably wouldn't need more than 25 planes. But they'd probably try to put 100 or 150 in the air. And they'd probably get a lot of them out. And the devastation to Iran would be life-changing for them. We know America will do takedowns to protect Israel. Do we really know if America would attack Israel? Well, I am of the strong opinion that if Iran did a fast launch in a few hours, it would take America a lot of time to reach a decision. Secretary of Defense would call meetings with the Pentagon, intelligence analysis, I don't know if they would bother talking to Biden. Some days you don't know if he thinks he's on Mars or the moon. And they would talk, I think, with Jake Sullivan and, Blinken and the Chief of Staff and Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, all these guys, and they'd probably come to a decision. And by the time they got all these guys together, the attack would be over. And they would be banking that when they announce the attack's over, revenge has been taken, it's finished, America would not attack them. And they could there's an extreme chance that would happen. No matter what happened to Israel, as long as they knew it stopped. Now, if Iran started attacking the UAE and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, that's not Israel. America would attack Iran. Now, this is what we're being told by the enemies of Israel that are war followers, and it's one particular person. First discredit to this person is he thinks Israel is going to be destroyed, which Bible says not. Second problem is he believes in nukes. If they had nukes, they would have used them. For years we've been told a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, Iran's going to have nukes. So where are the nukes? Iran came out with a curious announcement yesterday on their own. And they said, we're open to nuclear discussions with America. So that makes me think that Iran is considering trying a show of force by hitting Israel, which America is going to take, like water off a duck's back, but not completely wiping Israel out, just the military. And then they can put a lot of pressure on America to stop the sanctions and just let Iran develop whatever nukes it wants. This is basically America surrendering to Iran. Israel has neutralized Hamas. They're no longer a threat. They're a pain in the neck. They're not a real threat. After the attack on Hezbollah the other day, Hezbollah is not exactly just a pain in the neck, but they're not anywhere near the threat they were. If we took out thousands of their missile launchers, they're in bad shape. While they might have these ballistic missiles, long-range missiles, they have no launches for them. So the missiles could be hidden underground and everything, but without the launches, they're worthless. Making missile launches for Katyushas is child's play. You just use old beer cans, and you make a metal strut like this, another one like that, and an angled plate. You put the missile on it, it's kind of curved. You can use sheet metal, any kind of junky stuff. The Katyushas are not very big, they're not very heavy. They're, maybe 4 feet, 5 feet, 6, 8 inches, 9 inches thick, something like that. Lightweight explosives and highly inaccurate and very short range. So they were also saying they hit Tel Aviv. We didn't, they just tell you they hit stuff all the time and they don't hit it. Some weeks ago, Israel hit Yemen, the Houthis, or the Houthis, and took out a whole province, like a whole state, that the Houthis controlled. The other day I heard it was still on fire over there. Oil storage, the ports, the piers, they just did a wipeout in the place. Okay? Electricity, everything. And that was never sanctioned by the Biden administration. I mean, they never said you can't do that or anything. They didn't care. And America and the UK have been bombing missile launchers and radars inside Yemen constantly. They usually hit them 2 or 3 times a week. One time would be rather light. So the Houthis are on the endangered species list as far as Iran is concerned. So's Hezbollah, so's Hamas. If they lose these proxies and they want to exert control and influence over the Middle East, they're going to have, Iran would have to do it themselves, which they don't want to see. Because that increases the likelihood of a serious attack on Iran from America and NATO, which they cannot survive. They have no anti-aircraft systems that could stop the stealth jets, nor take down Moshe's sophisticated missiles. So they have to use their missile capability for deterrence to gain respect. Without that, no respect. And they're afraid of that. Because then America will just continue to crush them. More and more sanctions. You know, it just get more and more punishing, and it just bring Iran to their knees and promote a regime change and everything else, and they know that. Russia, with the problems in Ukraine, is in no position to come and send a fleet down here and 50, 100,000 soldiers. They can't do it. Russia did do a very heavy attack against Ukraine that caused a lot of damage the other day. Iran giving missiles and drones to Russia irritates America and NATO substantially, because it makes it easier for Russia to fight the war and drags it out. So they got an axe to grind with Iran on that one. BRICS, of which Iran is a member of. Putin has built himself a cyber currency platform. And we don't have the details, but in a few days it'll be operational. And BRICS is going to trade back and forth amongst themselves, any and all products. Not using the US dollar, just using the cyber currency that Putin is building. I expect this cyber currency would not be open to the public, just for BRICS. It may use the internet cables, or maybe they're trying to use heavily encrypted wireless communication. I have no idea. This is going to make it easier for more BRICS members to not use the US dollar. The way this has to work is you take your money, So India would have to take its money and convert it to cyber currency. So they would probably have to wire or somehow get a few $1 billion worth of money to Putin. And then his cyber currency system would set up a positive balance in India's bank account that they have $3 billion available, in cyber currency. Then he can do an online transfer into Russian bank. I don't know how he's going to get it in there because Russia's blocked from SWIFT. But then Russia would credit their cyber currency account accordingly. So they have to send real money, real paper money to Russia, and then wind up with cyber currency credit. We all know America goes crazy if you stop trading oil and other things in US dollars, use other currencies. So this also has America very angry, but it's not heavily focused on Iran, although Iran's a participant. It's focused on Putin. And they're dishing it out to Putin right now in Ukraine. I recently found out that F-16 planes have some attachment they could put on it that's a radar jammer, and it can defeat Russian radar. And this is a massive problem for Putin with Ukraine having F-16s. I'm sure they're giving that attachment to it. And I'm sure Israel's using it. In addition, the F-16 fuselage can be painted or covered with the material they use on the F-35 to make it stealth. It's not going to be a full stealth jet at all. It was hard as heck to knock down. Can China radar defeat this? I doubt it. Certainly not Iranian radar. And they're probably using it on F-15s as well, probably using it on a lot of aircraft. It's a radar countermeasure. Supposed to be quite effective. Russia has some version of this capability that they gave to Iran when they shipped goods over here a few weeks ago, but over to Iran. But I understand it's not effective. Ukraine dances around it without much difficulty at all. So America seems to be way ahead of the pack on weapons technology, but you got to remember the American military doesn't make the weapons technology, they use it. Private companies make it. Raytheon, Elbit, that's part Israeli, Westinghouse, places like that. And they recruit bright people from the universities. Now, America gives them money to develop new weapons also. Thinking. Iran's hypersonic missiles, which they ballistic missiles, which are probably hypersonic as well, which they gave to the Houthis, did damage some American ships. The aircraft carrier, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt. Is that the one? I don't know, the one that was here a few months ago. It had to go into port in Saudi Arabia for some days, which is extremely, like, the only time that ever happened. Probably to get repaired, and then it went out of the Red Sea. So we got 2 aircraft carrier groups here, and I think they only have 4 destroyers for both of them. And there's some submarines floating around. If Iran doesn't attack Israel, Israel will keep attacking Hezbollah, eventually go in on the ground and create a buffer zone. That would mean Iran lost Hezbollah and Hamas, and the Houthis are having trouble. The last ship they hit, they used the boat to hit it, and drones, stuff like that. They're not. America and the UK keep hitting their radar, their missile launchers. They're not able to function anywhere near the way they used to. So Iran without our proxies is dead in the water. The idea is Hezbollah hits you, Israel, you hit Hezbollah back. You don't hit Iran. That's the theme they want everybody to play by. Iran is basically fighting for its existence, and if they don't do a substantial counterattack against Israel, they will lose all their proxies, and they're going to wind up with nothing but sanctions on their head. They're going to attack. After what happened with Hezbollah, they're going to attack. What I think was supposed to happen is Hezbollah was supposed to take out the military bases, and that would put a shockwave in Israel, probably cause a massive amount of people in Israel to leave Israel. And they would be able to, if America was still hanging in there, negotiate with Israel, where Israel withdraws from Hamas, from Gaza completely. And then they would lay in a holding pattern for a few months while Hamas rebuilds, and Hezbollah rebuilds, and Yemen rebuilds, and then they would start all over again, that's all. So Iran may not finish an attack, but they're going to try to attack. Now, they will also most likely hit all the American bases in Iraq and Syria at the same time. I'm pretty sure they're going to do that. They want America out of the area. They want to be the dominant force in the area, and then what they're going to do is control the oil-producing countries in the Middle East, reduce the output, raise the prices, and cause steady creeping inflation on Europe and America and other countries, South America, Central America, and break their economies to counter the sanctions. That's what their master plan is, and Russia loves it because Russia's got all the oil and natural gas that they need. They don't need any from Iran. And if people post bad stuff, feel free to serve a tossed salad. Getting rid of some of the junk they put up in here. These are mostly evil children that do this. We're not talking about eugenics here, so I'm not going to get into it. Someone says they're from Mark Arajus. I don't know. I think it's typos. I don't know what they were saying. I really don't know. Can't tell. Okay, I think I got rid of the junk. Okay, if you want to report these people that put nasty comments up, go ahead and report them. Get rid of them. They just run around the internet making it an uncomfortable place. They don't want it to be a safe place with people sharing opinions. They just want to cause insults and stuff like that. So why should they do that? Let YouTube know. You don't kick them off YouTube. It's YouTube's decision what they want to do. And the more people that block them and the more people that report them pushes them very close to YouTube stopping them from posting in any chat for months. That's how they do it. You might not be able to post anywhere for 3 months or 6 months, stuff like that. They just stop your ability to post. So that's a pain in the neck for them. But why should you just let them do this, insult people, one came in yesterday and said, what's infant's blood taste like to me? You see, this is, why should they? YouTube didn't set this thing up for them to go around and do sick, hateful attacks on people. That's not what they created the platform for. And they want you to turn people in that do sick things like this, Okay? They make fun of me. How did I do a live stream? I do my own live streams. I was on the internet when the websites were black and white. Yep, they really were. I had websites in black and white. These kids were not even born. Okay? Their parents probably weren't even married yet when when I was doing this. Okay. Um, I remember when we had 7 big search engines. Disney had a good engine, Lycos, there were several. And when you wanted to position your website, you had to work search engine optimization in, all 7. And today, it's basically Google or nothing. I mean, you could get some business out of Yahoo or MSN, but it's predominantly Google. And Google doesn't want you to be able to position your website in the search engine for a very long period of time. Okay? They want you to buy pay-per-click ads. Pay-per-click ads are generally a waste of money. What happens is the people bid the price up per click so high that you wind up breaking even. Now, there's rare exceptions to this. If you're selling some service product or something that has very little competition, then it might work. So anyway, now Google's getting antitrust problems from Europe and monopoly problems, and it's about time it got busted up, but it's kind of late in the day. I mean, in the scheme of things with prophecy. So it's very feasible to me that Iran might launch thousands of hypersonic missiles, not just ballistic. Hypersonic, what is the difference? Hypersonic goes at multiple Mach, so they'll tell you Mach 7, or let's say it goes Mach 4, 3,000 miles an hour. It's too difficult for the missile defense systems of America and or Israel to to do a launch and knock down something moving that fast. Okay? If they launched from Iran at that speed, 3,000 miles an hour, it would be 20-minute flight time approximately to get into Israel, depending where in Iran they launched from or where in Israel they're trying to hit. That's fast moving. And it's very difficult for the anti-missile systems who don't go that fast to be able to predict the trajectory and get in front of it and explode and use the shrapnel to take it down. It's not easy. So they could do a very big launch like this at 11 Israeli bases. The one where the F-35s are kept would be of the most interest to Iran. So if they destroy Israel's military or severely cripple it, especially get rid of a lot of the Israeli aircraft, then Iran doesn't have a threat of Israel destroying their natural gas and oil industry. And then Israel is left defenseless for people like Hamas, Hezbollah, the hundreds of thousands of militias in Iraq and Syria, and the hundreds of thousands of Houthis and maybe some other countries like Turkey, Jordan, just getting real bold and saying, Egypt, let's end this problem. They all take their troops and surround Israel on all sides, getting ready to invade it, in which case they would most likely throw us in ovens ultimately, starve us, beat us, rape us, kill family members in front of the family, rape women in front of the family, they rape men too, and do all this and then eventually burn us alive, which is what they did on October 7th. This is what they would do. And Israel knows this. Okay? How the people in Israel could sit still for Netanyahu after October 7th, it blows my mind. I can't believe it. And the second thing is how they could sit still that Netanyahu is resistant to the Israeli Jews getting guns. He should be handing out the old weapons that the military has stored to any Jew in Israel. No background, nothing. Just show up and here's your gun. Go over there and they'll teach you how to shoot it, you know. All you gotta do is give everybody, I don't know, 100 rounds of ammo. And, you know, you would change the scope of invading Israel in a massive way. Look at all the trouble the Israeli army has going through Gaza because they all have guns like this, right? When Kuwait got invaded by Saddam Hussein, he did that. He gave everybody AK-47s, but not Netanyahu. Netanyahu is such a low form of life, it's just unbelievable. Yet they like the corruption he brings and they keep him in office, and he's more of an enemy than a friend. And he's trying to duck his street criminal cases so he doesn't go to jail. And I told you before this war broke out that he would throw Israel into a war and kill millions of Jews before he went to jail. I told you that. And you could be seeing it now. If there is no more Israel, he doesn't go to jail. These people think this way. Most people don't understand the way an SPOD thinks, but that's how they think. And Satan would love to get rid of Israel. So what we see in prophecy is not an invasion of Israel, which is consistent with Iran with advanced missiles attacking our bases. Now, the hypersonic missile could go more than 3,000 miles. It can go 4,000 miles an hour. It's ballistic, so it has some type of guidance and direction. And when it gets close to its target, it ejects, I don't know what you call it, another stage of the missile. That's the warhead with its own engine. So now the missile is greatly reduced in size. Maybe it's only 6 or 7 feet or 10 feet or something or less. And it's traveling possibly not hypersonically anymore because it's such a small target, it's hard to pick up. And it takes the warhead into the target. The fuselage or the body of the missile is worthless. So once it gets near the target, it probably can get a very decent rate of speed going, maybe even hypersonic, because it ejects its big, heavy fuselage, and it just has a small stage left of the missile. So it's not going to be that hard to propel the missile fast, because the fuel reserve, either dry or wet fuel, would be very small, because when you put that burner on, you're very close to the target. What's very close? I don't know, 50 miles or something. They're hard to hit. Does Iran really have these weapons? I don't know. But they were able to damage an American aircraft carrier and a destroyer. I saw videos of the destroyer on fire in the Red Sea. And that's what the Houthis have, and we would assume Iran has better than that. So the American defenses on very sophisticated modern warships could not defend against these anti-ship missiles, which could have been hypersonic. You see the problem? You got to look at the facts, not just what they tell you. So the Israel government's not going to tell the people that Iran's going to fire 3,000 missiles at us that are hypersonic, and most of them are going to land in the military bases, and we're not going to have a military. Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to say, tell Netanyahu to give us all weapons. And if he doesn't want to, then they're going to get rid of Netanyahu. They'll hang him from a street lamp, wouldn't they? Would, if Israel had an extra, let's say, 1 million weapons, what would that do to make a ground invasion of Israel work? Well, it would be such a strong deterrent, they wouldn't try a ground invasion. It would be stupid. They'd be house to house fighting for a year. And they don't have that amount of time. So there's a lot of motive for Israel not telling the people this could happen. And they themselves go in underground bunkers, so nothing much comes of it. Netanyahu's son is out of the country and not in the military. How about them apples? Netanyahu may be thinking he just plays ball with America until the end, and then he jumps on a helicopter which takes him to an American Navy ship, and he gets on the boat, and then he goes to America and lives comfortably on an American military base somewhere, like that Russian used to live in the Presidio in San Francisco, where they give him a house that used to belong to a general or, full bird colonel or something like that. And he's surrounded by, 5 or 6 MPs, or probably 4 around the clock, on a guarded military base, and the MPs have radios, so, they could get help in a very brief period of time, because they're on the base. And Netanyahu lives happily ever after, writes books, speaking tours, or just stays low-key. Could happen. It never will, but he might think it will. So the Lord is not going to give Israel a military victory where they conquer land and get rid of their enemies based on the IDF. When he redeems them, it's going to be obvious to everybody, Israeli and otherwise, that it was Jehovah that gave Israel the deliverance, the victory. Okay? So when I look at the battle, I don't see the IDF there. I'll read Zechariah 12 momentarily. I don't see the IDF present at all. So them getting significantly or completely wiped out before the appearing of the sign of Son of Man in the clouds makes perfect sense to me, because the scripture seems to support it. Which means this thing Iran is cooking up that I'm hearing about could be real. And they'll go after the 11 bases that Hezbollah tried to get. But they know that if they try to do a ground invasion, America will step in. Because that means Iran's trying to conquer land, and they don't want any of that. So instead of an invasion, after they get rid of the military, they do a siege, where all the, Muslim terrorist enemies of Israel assemble around Judah and Jerusalem, which is what it says in Zechariah 12, in a siege. And that's when the 2 witnesses burn them up on the right hand and on the left round about. Now, I know the church doesn't teach the 2 witnesses emerge before Gog and Magog, but however your Bible does teach it. So you can listen to the church, or you could decide you want to obey your own Bible. It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to cram it down your throat, but if it's in the Bible, I pay attention to that. People that preach against the Bible don't have my attention. I didn't reject your comment. What happened is you hit my word filter because you were probably doing some really nasty posting. So if I'm wrong, send me an email. My email's up at the top of the chat. And tell me what your post is, and I'll post it up for you. How's that? I've never seen a single person that talks like you ever send it to me, because it's usually cursing or very nasty behavior. Okay, so I didn't take it down. I think I didn't, because the people I take down I usually block, and you're still able to post. So I don't remember taking it down. I think you hit my word filter, that's all. So when I tell people this, they very frequently say, oh no, I wasn't. Yeah, well, email me, prove it. I'll be right back in a minute, quick break. Hey guys, I'm gonna grab my cup and make another cup of coffee, but it's instant, so it'll be quick. I'll be right back. she's a girl, Rabbi, so it's okay. Hi, Chief. Trying not to spill the coffee and walk around the dogs that create an obstacle course for me. Okay. So what we'll do now is go through the scriptures and see if it looks like we got a decent fit here. All right. At this point, let's do some prayer requests because I don't want to forget. And we got some. First one is for JG, Jack Golf. JG, Jack Golf. Prayer for peace in the marriage, for finances and success in a new job. For JG, prayer for peace in the marriage, for finances and success in a new job. For DSS, Delta Sierra Sierra, DSS, Delta Sierra Sierra, DSS. Prayer for healing, for a thigh and from an operation. DSS, healing for the thigh and healing from an operation. Recent. CM, Charlie Mike, CM, Charlie Mike. Prayer for more work. We prayed for this person and they got some temporary work and they need more work. CM, pray for more work. We got a couple of praise reports. We prayed for somebody who was sick and they got much better. We prayed for somebody that needed a shower installed and they got great results. And they needed a shower fixed. Not only are they getting it fixed, they're getting a brand new shower. I think it's government housing type thing. I'm told the Midwest is getting a heat wave in America. I don't think it's that serious. I think it's a like the heat index. Yafa? Where are you? Is that Chief? Chief? You want a stickler? Hey. Want a bite? Yafa? Alright. Zechariah 12. Now this is the next battle. Israel is not living in peace, not living in safety without bars and walls. Doesn't have a lot of cattle and gold and silver and all the other stuff you see in Gog and Magog. This is not yet Gog and Magog. That comes down the road. There's no beast, there's no false prophet, there's no mark of the beast, there's nobody speaking peace and safety. Forget all that. It's not for now. I mean, they could teach you that, and tens of thousands of them could teach you that, but it doesn't make it true. It just makes for a great deception. Zechariah 1, the burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make, who makes it? Jehovah makes it. His name's not Jehovah, there's no J in Hebrew, it's not Yahweh. Names in Hebrew mean things. Yahweh means nothing, it's Jehovah. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. Now, the word unto, let's check that word. It doesn't say unto, it says, wait, let me back up and make sure I'm right about this. See, their translations stink in English. It says unto all the people, okay. It doesn't say unto, it says all, call, and then it says the word for people, which is which means people. So it's saying make, make's not the best word for this either, is it? Put. It's close though. When it says behold, it's hine. It's like, look, you know, there's an old messianic song, and it starts out, you know, hine Yeshua Hamelech Israel. It's saying, you know, behold, here comes Yeshua, the King of Israel, right? All right. So hine, you know, is look, behold, I guess. Ani, I. And then it says, put Jerusalem. See, he's saying he's going to make Jerusalem a cup of trembling. That's not what it's really saying. It's saying, I put. Then it says Jerusalem, which is really Jerusalem. And then it says, it's not a cup, it's a basin. A cup's a little thing, like a coffee cup. This is like a big, maybe like a horse trough with a, you know, Wyatt Earp ties his horse up and gives him water, and there's a big trough 6 feet long by, you know, 2 feet wide and 2 feet or 3 feet high. You know, it's more like a basin, a big thing, not a cup. Basin. And then it says trembling, Ra'al, which is not really a bad translation. It could mean reeling about like you're drunk from alcohol. So it could mean you're just staggering around. It could also mean you're trembling, you're shaking like a drunk. And when he runs out of alcohol a few hours later, he gets the shakes. It's hard to pin it down more precisely. It could go either way. But because it's a basin which you would hold the beverage of trembling, when you drink it, you would become reeling, you'd be staggering. Trembling would be afterwards. So maybe it's staggering. And then it says, call all people. And then it has the word roundabout, which is Shabib, and I'll go with roundabout or circular. It works. When they shall be, and we got 4 words in English to take the place of one Hebrew word, you know, haya, to be. Shall be. When they're adding in shall be, and then it has the word siege. Now you got to understand the word siege, matzor, and let me give it to you from Strong's because he's the best. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's better than the others. A hemming in, fenced around a siege. You know, it's a surrounding. Okay, fencing in, surrounding, and Hezbollah's doing that. Syria is doing that. Hamas is doing that. You know, Jordan will probably do it. Egypt will probably do it. You know, it's getting there. We're not quite there yet. The Houthis are trying to do it with the shipping. Not exactly there yet. When they be in the siege, both against Judah and Jerusalem. Now, to do this around Jerusalem, you got to understand this. This is the tip of my finger is Jerusalem. This is the West Bank that wraps around Jerusalem on 3 sides, north, south, and east. So they have to be in the West Bank surrounding Jerusalem too. And we just started, I think today, a big operation in the West Bank. Curiously. All right, now we go on. Okay, and it says, and in that day, the West Bank is really Samaria and Judea, but the media calls it the West Bank, probably because it's west from Jordan or something like that, I don't know. And in that day, see, this is a day, probably the day of vengeance, but I can't give you a written guarantee that that all happens in the same day, but I expect it is. That day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. And that word would maybe be better translated lacerate, or you could say slice and dice. It sounds quite fatal. When you get cut in pieces with a sword, you're kaput, you know, you're dead. Burden themselves shall be cut in pieces. And then it says, though all. Well, it doesn't say though all in the Hebrew. It says all. And it says the people. Now they're twisting this. It doesn't say the people. It says the heathen, the goyim. All heathen of Haaretz. And that could mean the earth or the land of Israel. In this case, it's hard to say. The land of Israel God's probably referencing to is greater Israel. Okay, or it could also mean the whole earth. Be gathered together against it. Let's check the English. Asaph. Yeah, gather against all. Yeah, against the pond, or you know. Yeah, it's all right. Verse 4, in that day, again, it's a day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment. The word is sus. It can mean a horse or a swallow, the flying bird. And, you know, when this was written, if the prophecy said, I will smite every airplane, well, they wouldn't know what you were talking about. So if it said sus, which could mean a swallow, a flying thing, yeah, it could make some more sense, right? With astonishment. Now, the word for astonishment is bewilderment, stupefaction, which is pretty hard to apply to a living thing. You would apply it to an animal, but I seriously doubt they'll be attacking with animals at any great strength. And his rider with madness. The only explanation for that is something happens, and Elijah and Apostle John, the two witnesses, go to work, and they beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, so to speak. But I really can't make that work. I really can't. I don't know how that would be. So I think we're just dealing with the ancient language did not have a word for an airplane or a tank or a Humvee. So that's where I'm at with that. Okay. And the word for rider, rakav, it just basically means who's, riding on it, or riding on a horse, or riding in the tank, or something like that. Okay, that's how I would deal with that. His rider would bear this, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. See, now that's who's here now. Israel, the 10 tribes, is not here. And only part of Judah is here now. When he says the house of Judah, by Judah, he's not referencing the land of Judah, he's representing the people, which is Judah and Levi. And that's basically who's here now. When he opens his eyes, it means he turns his face towards us, and that's really a very good thing. You could think of that as sliding into home plate in baseball. And will smite every souse, horse of the people. Now here it doesn't say heathen, it says people, with blindness. Now the word for blindness is Evron, and it's really not a word with a lot of meanings that vary. You could say blindness or blind. Every horse of people would blind, so it could mean that if it's a souse, it's a swallow, their weapon, their instruments go out, and it could be nighttime and the planes can't fly. I mean, I don't know where they're going, something like that. I don't know. Where it says the governors of Judah, you should think of that as the chiefs of Judah or the judges, because God in Isaiah 1 says he's going to run Israel with the judges like he did at the first with Moses and Aaron. And judges are prophets, and there's only 2 prophets coming. And that's Apostle John, who's still on earth, by the way, and Elijah. And it's one thing as a gift of the Spirit to prophesy, it's quite another matter altogether to hold the office of a prophet. And the judges of Judah shall say in their heart, now this is all twisted up, okay? It says the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength. It's the strength of the inhabitants of Jerusalem is Jehovah of hosts, Elohim, their God. That's what it's really saying. Why they want to mess with it, I don't know. In that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. Well, obviously, this is the 2 witnesses with the fire coming out of their mouth. Who do you think it is? Putin or Netanyahu? I mean, come on. And they shall burn up, it says devour, it would be better translated burn up, and they shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again. It's you see, they're giving you the impression here that Jerusalem is screwed up. It didn't happen. It's not what it's saying. Jerusalem remains still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. That's what the translation really says. That's what the Hebrew really says. See, they're doing little subtle twists to lead you to Dr. Schofield's idiocy. Verse 7, Jehovah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Judah in English, I guess. In that day shall Jehovah defend, again, that day, shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. Feeble is old and weak and tottering and staggering and bent over and all that. And they become like David, who killed Goliath and cut his head off and killed a lion and a bear and was a great warrior. So they're obviously changed. He that is feeble among them in that day, at that day, okay, let's check the English here because I don't trust them. Among them at that. Let's see what the Hebrew really says. It's really saying that day. And then it says, shall be. Yeah, we better translate it become. Become as David. And the house of David, it just says Elohim. The house of David, Elohim, like the angel of Jehovah before them. It says like the angel of Jehovah before, and that word is punim, I believe, which means in the face of Jehovah. So the angel of the Lord is Michael, the glory God of Israel, that was with Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel in the wilderness. And he killed about 150,000 one day. That's what the house of David becomes like. Oh, we will fight when this happens. And we will be getting the land back. When this starts, you're in recompenses. Redemption, rather. And we don't get our inheritance back reunited with our families until we get into redemption. That's when that happens. This is that day. May not be the day of vengeance. It might be the day of redemption, although redemption is the year of redemption. It has to start somehow. So, it's probably the same day, vengeance, the day of vengeance, and the beginning of redemption. That's how I see it. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy, it says that day again, all the heathen that come against Jerusalem. So, when they're threatening to come down here and attack us, you know, what I would tell them is, yeah, come to me, come to your worst nightmare, you know. I mean, that's what's happening. The beast to the slaughter. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication. Well, contrary to the way the church teaches, here we are, Israel is sinning until this day, and now all of a sudden he pours his spirit on them. Well, now they become believers, but the change is even more than that, as I'll show you. And then it goes on in verse 10, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. Well, they see Yeshua. This is the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds. seated on the right hand of power, God the Father, Jehovah. Why? Psalm 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. When Yeshua appears in the clouds, his enemies are not yet his footstool, so he's still at the right hand of Jehovah. So Jehovah and Yeshua are going to appear in the clouds, like the lightning from the east to the west. And now, what happens when they appear and they look at him? Well, they're all mourning. When they see him, all the families of Israel mourn. So it's not a throwback to when they, crucified Yeshua. So there's another scripture that the church, now I know the church doesn't teach you this stuff, but it's right there in your Bible. In John 6 verse 40, there's another verse they don't teach you. And you could ask yourself why they don't teach you. I'm not going to cram it down your throat. John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me. This is Jehovah's will. That everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So everybody that sees Yeshua in the clouds is fine. That's a believer. Well, he just poured his spirit out on the house of David and the people in Jerusalem. They get everlasting life, which does not mean you cannot die. That happens in New Jerusalem because it says there's no death there, probably because the people will be able to freely partake of the water of life and the tree of life and live forever. But this is just you have a very, very long life, like the pre-flood people, only much longer. My people's days will be like that of a tree. A child shall die at 100. And then in Malachi 4, when this happens, this is referred to as the Son of Righteousness, arise with healing in his wings. We'll be healed, we'll be youthful and young again. It says you shall jump out of the stall like a calf. And this could happen tomorrow. And the church doesn't teach you this. Now, it'll also change all the tribes of Israel, lost or not, will get this, and also all the true believers. But why do I say it'll happen to all the tribes of Israel? Because you see the after effects of this in Jeremiah 31. It says, they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. So you don't have to go around saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. He gives them a heart of flesh. He puts the law in their inward parts. Okay? This is why. And the church doesn't teach you this stuff. And you need to ask yourself why they don't. It's not for me to cram it down your throat. 1 John 3:2, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Well, you'll be glowing the way Moses did when he came down from Mount Sinai, stuff like that. Okay? And that's going to happen, and that could happen any day. Now, just being affiliated with the church isn't going to do you a bit of good. You got to be in Yeshua, not in some denomination. That's not going to work. Are plenty of the people in the church in Yeshua? I think there's quite a few that shouldn't be in the churches, but they're still there. And they don't know any better. That's why we read in Matthew 13 that the tares and the wheat shall grow up together until the harvest, and then the angels will take the tares out, bind them in bundles to be burned, and the wheat will come to Israel, which be gathered into the barn. This is the barn, is Israel. And there's two ages. It doesn't say in the world in Matthew 13, it means the age to come. And Scripture says there's two ages. There's this one and the age to come with everlasting life. So the next age starts with everlasting life, which happens when Yeshua appears in the clouds. There's the return of Yeshua to earth, as in Revelation 19, where the beast and the false prophet get thrown into the lake of fire alive and all that. And then there's the appearing first. And that's not taught by the church. Although the word for appearing appears a lot, like in Matthew 24, can be interpreted coming or appearing. Comes in the sky, appears in the sky. See, they mess around with it. When Yeshua returns to earth, he's not coming at the right hand of God the Father. He's not in the clouds. He's on a white horse. His garment is covered with blood from treading the wine press. And just to ignore another detail which they ignore, he comes with what's probably millions of angels with swords on their white horses. Or I don't know how many. I'm sure it'd be tens of thousands. It's not, 5 angels or anything like that. And we don't see that when he appears in the clouds like lightning from the east to the west. And then in Revelation 1:7, and every eye shall see him. But the ones that see him and that are not believers are going to be in a really bad way. They're going to be trembling, which could explain why they're trembling when they surround Jerusalem just before the two witnesses burn them up. Do you not think that makes some sense? That they're trembling because they're, I don't want to talk bad, but I mean, they're really shaken up. I mean, here's the Messiah and Father God Jehovah appearing in the clouds, and I'm on the wrong side of this thing. And they tremble. Then comes ignition from the two witnesses, and they're goners. Then ensues redemption, and we begin to take our land back, which means we will fight. It says we will fight with sling stones. Well, we've got this everlasting life. We probably have the mind of Christ. It says they shall run and not get tired. And the feeble will be like David. How did David knock down that sack of you-know-what that was 9 feet tall? He put a smooth rock in his forehead, and he cut his head off. David was a warrior. Oh, he was a warrior. The two witnesses are warriors. And more. They're prophets. David was a prophet. Yeshua will be a warrior. You haven't seen him as a warrior, but you will one day. And a warrior like the world has never seen or heard of. Anybody that makes war with the two witnesses is a pretty stupid person. The beast tries it, and God lets them get killed for 3.5 days, then raises them up to heaven. They go up on a cloud to heaven in front of everybody, and then what happens with the beast and the false prophet shortly after that? Well, they get honored. They do. Do you know they get honored, the beast and the false prophet? Yes, they have the honor of being the first morons to wind up in the lake of fire for eternity. They're numero uno and numero dos in the lake of fire, those schmucks. And the lake of fire is not for thousands of years or millions of years or billions of years or trillions of years. It's an infinite number of years that can't be measured. It never stops. They have an eternal existence of sheer misery. Sheer misery. Those that don't know the Lord wind up there. Those that are the enemies of the Lord wind up there. Those that serve the Lord and Yeshua do not wind up there. They initially will wind up in Israel restored, then they'll wind up in New Jerusalem, and then they'll wind up in heaven for how long? Not for millions of years, not for billions or trillions, for an infinite number of years that can't be measured. It's like a new reality that's always there. So you wind up as a believer being submerged or submitted to this absolute fantastic paradise life with God the Father for an infinite number of years. And the other idiots wind up in a horrible existence for an infinite number of years. It's the when the judgment's over, that's an absolute. It doesn't start over again. God's not lying about it. They're there forever and ever. They ain't never getting out. You know, a while ago, some kid came into the chat and he said to me, "Could you look at me, turn your head a little bit more so I could see your eyes?" And then he says, "Thank you." Well, then I demon tossed him. What he was doing was trying to do that eye contact crap that the Satan bots do. And he thought I didn't know what he was doing. And this dumbbell's going to wind up in the lake of fire unless he repents. He could always repent, but that's such a rare occurrence. And he, you know, thinks he's a chosen person, you know. They get led to the slaughter like the beast. The beast doesn't know what's happening. They just lead it. He says, "Okay, I'll go with you," and then he winds up dying for the altar. I mean, that's just how it's done. I myself look forward to the day when God, at the close of Gog and Magog, makes a covenant with the beast with blood. And that's when I believe the lion and the cow or the sheep or something lay down together, and the child plays with the venomous snake at its hole in the ground and stuff like that, where they don't kill each other anymore. And I can't wait for that. I like animals. Oh, by the way, please pray for Chief. He had a very minor, well, not so minor accident. Kind of something like a short distance fall, not very much. And it hurt his leg or legs or something like that. He's been recovering, but he takes a few steps and then he wants to lay down. So he has mobility. I'm rather certain it's not broken, but something didn't work right. So please pray for Chief's legs to be healed and he could walk with more strength, and you know, just heal him up so he could walk as per normal. Appreciate it. For Chief, the dog. Thank you. As I said, he is doing better, but he's still got a little way to go. So, we see ourselves with this event, which is Jacob's trouble. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, which is Jeremiah 30, I think, verse 8. It says, "For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off his neck, and I will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him." And did I jump? Yeah, I jumped ahead of verse. Sorry, it's verse 7. "Alas, for that day," remember that day is great, so that none is like it. It's probably the day of vengeance and the first day of redemption when we see Yeshua and get eternal life, and that's a great day. There's not going to be another day like that. It doesn't mean it's the worst day ever. it means it's a great day. Let's check the words. Great means gadol, which is high, like the Kohen Gadol. Kohen is priest, Gadol is high, the high priest. So it's not, it's such a horrible, terrible day. I mean, for the enemies it is, but not for us. God's worried about us, not the enemies. So it says, alas. And what the heck is the Hebrew on this? Oi. You could say alas. Yeah, okay, I'll go with alas. For okay, for that should be as a no, let's see. It's like him or her. So it's saying Gadol, none. Let's check the words there. Okay, it's saying Gadol, men from iron is nothing. Iron's like a bagel hole or something like nothing, So it's a high or great day, there's no day like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. It didn't say the day of Jacob's trouble, did it? No. Okay. They say in English, is even the time. Now that's one word in Hebrew, at time. So, is even the time, throw is even there out of it. It's saying, at Yaakov, and the word for trouble is tsura, which is like the Yiddish word tsuris. It means trouble, is what it means, trouble. Yaakov's trouble. Then it says, but he shall be saved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words for one Hebrew word. And the word is, you see, they twisted it so bad. He shall be saved. The word is Yasha. Yasha is the root of Yeshua's name. It means salvation. I guess in English you might say Yeshua is the giver, or from whose salvation flows, or something like that. Hebrew doesn't go in English very well. And then it says, so it's he shall be saved out of it, gives you the impression, oh, you're going to be delivered from the war, America will come and drop bombs, and no. Salvation, when you see him, you shall be like him. You will be changed because you see him as he is. Okay, those that are believers and see him shall have everlasting life. You'll jump out of the calf like a stall. That's your Yasha. He pours his spirit out on them first. They're believers. They're saved. They're a new creation in Christ Jesus, but they also look like it. They'll be glowing. Isaiah 60, arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Okay. They'll be shining like Moses from Mount Sinai, where they put a veil over them. Okay, Yasha, and then it says out of it, and the word is from. So it's salvation from, I guess. For it shall come to pass in that day, it's the day again, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. America, the UN, all of them. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim, and David their king, whom I shall raise up unto him. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah. It's not a literal David. David died, so it's elected unto man to die only once. So it's not David, it's David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne. In Ezekiel 45, we see the anointed prince doing sacrifices in the temple, and he would be from the line of David. And then in Daniel 9, around 26 or 27, he gets cut off, but not for himself. And that's in Gog and Magog, and that's the same anointed prince. But moving along, we'd probably never have another anointed prince because Yeshua would come back very shortly after that, and Yeshua is not the prince, but the king of Israel, and the high priest in the order of Melchizedek. And there's no temple in New Jerusalem. But anyway, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, Revelation 21 explains there's no temple in New Jerusalem. For lo, I will save thee from afar. Okay. I will salvation thee, Yasha thee, from afar. So those that are believers in the house of Israel, all the 12 tribes that are scattered amongst the world, will see him, and he appears in the clouds like lightning from the east to the west. In Revelation 1:7, every eye shall see him. So they will also receive this eternal life, have a heart of flesh, have the law in their inward parts. See, you're going to learn how powerful Jehovah and Yeshua really are. They really are powerful. The people don't understand, but they soon will, and it's a good thing that they will. I will save thee from afar, and his mercy is also infinite, and his love, and he's got that too. His love and mercy have no limits. They just don't. I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. That's the next great Exodus. And Yaakov, all 12 tribes, shall return and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. Now you got to understand that there's all the nations he dispersed the Israelites into was probably 100, 125 nations. They're going to be destroyed. Now it could be floods, it could be lightning, it could be fires, it could be wars, mixture thereof. And the people will go into captivity, which is what they've done to Israel for many centuries, and apparently want to do to Israel again. Okay. So there's trembling. They're not having a guy speak peace and safety to them. This is Jacob's trouble. He shall be saved out of it. Yasher out of it. Salvation out of it. That doesn't happen in Ezekiel. It already happened before Ezekiel 38, 39. Just the bad ones get cut off over there, pretty much. I hope this is making sense for you. You have to understand, if somebody calls themselves a church and buys a big building and joins a denomination, and they teach against the Word of God, you don't follow that. Well, you shouldn't. Oh, someone posted Hine Yeshua Melech Yisrael. I think when they sing it, Hine Yeshua HaMelech, but you got it pretty good. You just left it out, the Ha. Zion train is coming our way. There's a train coming. Get on board. You don't need no tickets. Yes, prophecy is being fulfilled, absolutely. People seem to come in here and make fun of old people, like this one calls me Papa. Well, that's as stupid as you asking us to pray that you die young. I'm not saying we'd do that, but that's how stupid it is. You don't ever want to be old, you just want to die young. Is that what your plan is? If that's not your plan, you make no sense, do you? Children. This is children. That's what we'd be dealing with here, children, okay? What are you going to do? Well, people that never grew up, I don't know. Let's see what I didn't cover. I think we got it. Okay, let me think here. I think we got a pretty decent picture. It says in Jeremiah 50:51 about the daughter of Babylon, America, speaking with the Israelites, they shall do evil in your sight. So I'm not expecting good stuff from America here. But this is what I didn't cover today that I will cover. And I keep covering this because it's highly relevant, because it's going to happen real soon. Jeremiah 49, last few verses, I think. The whole chapter tells us about today's days, what's going to happen. We'll go in verse 34, Jeremiah 34. Jeremiah 49, verse 34. The word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, okay, so it was given in the time of Zedekiah, it's not related to that time. Elam, it consists of pieces of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. So since these pieces are in what's today Iraq, Syria, and Iran, I assume the whole political government of Iraq, Syria, and Iran will get destroyed. I'm pretty darn sure that's how it would play out. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I really don't. So it's three countries, and they're all working together against Israel, which means they're an enemy of the Lord. Okay? Thus saith Jehovah of armies, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. The bow launches the arrows, cut through the chase. A bow is a missile launcher, and the arrow is the missile. So they're going to have their missile launches destroyed. That's what the Bible tells me. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of the heaven, and will scatter them towards those winds, and there shall be no heathen whither the outcast of Elam shall not come. So, for I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. Well, who are the enemies of Elam? Well, we know America, UK, NATO, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, and probably Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Egypt. You know what I mean? I don't know. They got a lot of enemies. Let's put it that way, okay? And before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. So they're going to be dispersed into all the countries of the earth, which is what happened to Israel in the past. Although we didn't go into every single country, we went into many of them. And that's what they want for us now. And I will set my throne in Elam. Now that doesn't mean he's going to rule from Elam. It means he judges from his throne. So he's going to set his throne there to judge Elam. And they're his enemy. And will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Jehovah. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith the Lord. Well, that's why you see Persia and Gog and Magog. There's a 70-year period of space between the day of redemption and the close of Gog and Magog, which is the end of the 70 years of Daniel 9:24. Daniel 9:24 in English it says 70 weeks, which is garbage. In every single Hebrew manuscript, bar none, it says 70-70, which means there's two 70-year periods on the people of Daniel, Israel, and Jerusalem. The first 70 is the Babylonian captivity, and the second 70 begins with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, and it will end. And that is okay. I'll take it a little further. That's going to be associated with the sun going dark and the moon turning to blood. That's the start. As you get to the end of Gog and Magog, the sun goes dark, the moon goes dark, and the stars fall and don't give their light, which is a clue for the new heaven and the new earth, which in Ezekiel 39, you start seeing the hills being brought down and the valleys being built up. It's the new heaven and the new earth is then. And that would be the close of Gog and Magog, and I believe the close of the tribulation as well, or it's very close to it. And that would mean the return of Yeshua to the earth with New Jerusalem. And New Jerusalem's not going to come down to an earth full of churches and shrines and temples and blood all over the earth. Oh, yeah, it's not going to happen. So you have the new heaven and new earth. All right, Isaiah 1. Where am I? What verse? Maybe 25? Nope, 24. Therefore saith Adonai Jehovah of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies. And I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. That's a good thing. And I will restore, well, when we read that, remember, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed, year of redemption, with judgment, and her converts with righteousness, and the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together. And they that, what is a transgressor? Let's check. I think it's to go against revolt or rebel or breakaway. Okay, the rebels, yeah. And the sinners shall be together as they that forsake Jehovah shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which they have desired, and you shall be confounded for the garden that you have chosen. Okay, so that shows you that he's gonna I will restore thy judges as at the first. Moses and Aaron, they were judges and prophets. Apostle John and Elijah, judges and prophets. And they'll also have the 70 councils. But then it says, purely purge away thy dross and take away thy tin. Well, you see this in Zechariah 13, which is a continuation of 12. The chapter headings are artificially put in by the chapter and the verse numbers is put in by the publishing houses, not Jehovah. These things were written in a continuous scroll. And it shall, Zechariah 13:8, it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Jehovah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off, and die, cut off and dead. But the third, the 1/3, shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and refine them as silver, and refine them as refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. Well, how about that? The bad ones get cut off. Ezekiel 34, the bad shepherds, the fat cattle, they're gone. God also says in Zechariah 13, around verse 4 or so, 3 or 4 or something like that he's going to run the unclean spirits out of Israel. We're going to have no demons in Israel. How sweet it is. Scripture says, those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. God knows how to make you happier than you know how to make yourself. And he will do it very shortly. Could be a few days away. If you're a true believer. If you're not a true believer, well, either you're for him or you're against it. If you're for a church that contradicts his word, you're rejecting knowledge, and then scripture says Yeshua will reject you. Being for a church that teaches against the teachings of Jehovah and Yeshua is not with him, you're against him. Because you don't believe his word. You could, so to speak, allegorically shoot the messenger, me being the Malek, the messenger, but I'm just hitting you with scriptures. So you're shooting against the scriptures. I'll show you the dross again. Malachi 3. Behold, I will send my Malak, and he shall prepare the way before me. That's Elijah. The Elijah, this is. And the Lord, Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. So we're going to have the next temple, which I've told you a million times comes down from heaven. This is not New Jerusalem. I know the difference. And that's the glory of God of Israel that will be in that temple. He was never in Herod's temple, never in Zerubbabel's temple, and he briefly went into Solomon's temple to anoint it and then left. Even the Malak of the covenant, that would be Elijah teaching them Torah and the covenant, how to be right with God is a covenant. The Torah explains that to you. Whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming? And who will stand when he appeareth? For he, whoops, my iPad jumped a chapter. And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like a fuller's soap. So he's going to purify the 1/3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. So it doesn't mean he only refines and purifies the Levites here, okay? And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, or the Levites. The word is ben, it means sons. Sons of Levi, the Levites, and the Kohanim are within Levi too, but they're also descended from Aaron. And within the Kohanim, you have the sons of Zadok, but that's a whole other study. The sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. You see, when the rabbis would run around, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and do the offerings, they'd bring the animals and stuff like that. They were evil and had a black heart. And God doesn't accept that. They didn't do the weightier things of the Lord. They were liars, cheats, scoundrels, everything else. The same today. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Jehovah as in the days of old, as in the former years, and I will come near to you to judgment. And I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, they're gone. Witches is what that means. And against the adulterers, and against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, that's the orphan, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. 2/3. You get it? For I am, it says, Ani Yehovah, I'm Jehovah, I'm sorry. I change not, therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers you were gone away. Okay, so all right. So I'll just cover one more thing with you in Malachi 4. It starts off, for behold, the day cometh, the day that shall burn as an oven. They shall burn them on the right hand and the left all around. That shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it should leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name, so they're believers, if they're mourning Yeshua, they're fearing the name of God, obviously. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, the Son word is Shemesh, which means S-U-N, it's a play on words, of righteousness, the bright and morning star, the sun rising in the east, I guess. The Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings and his extremities. That's the outer borders of the robe type garment, or the bathrobe kind of garment they wore, that had the tassels or that sits it on the entire outer garments all around the place, okay? And that's what the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years clung on to with Yeshua and got healed. The tassels, or that sits it, the boot thread and so forth. Healing in his extremities, and you shall go forth and frolic about as calves of the stall. You'll be young again, strength, energy, you'll jump around like a baby calf coming out of the stall. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith Jehovah of hosts. See, when they're burned up to ashes, the land's not defiled. In Gog and Magog, they're not burned up to ashes. The bodies are laying around the place. So they hire buriers to bury their bones and pieces of the bodies or whatever, right? But that's not the case here because they get burned up. So they're not blown up with bombs and missiles, which would leave body parts flying all over the place. The IDF is not active. It's not present in Zechariah 12, so it's very likely, as one possible maybe solution, it could be other solutions, but maybe as a possible, I'm not sure it'll happen this way, but it could, because it would meet prophecy. Iran blows up the 11 military bases. That sets the Israelites off into trembling, being scared, and then comes their deliverance when they get more surrounded. What the Muslims would do to the Jews in Israel would make Hitler look like a humanitarian. The religion of peace, Muslims, right? All right. What's cooking in the chat? When you say prayer request for me, I have no idea what you want prayer for. I have no idea. So AV, Alpha Victor says this person wants prayer. Well, I don't know how or specifically what to pray, but you can pray for AV. I don't know. That's why I always tell people, don't just tell us to pray for you. We don't know what to pray for. So a reminder, please pray for Chief. He hurt his legs or something the other day from a small fall, and he's getting back, able to walk around and stuff, but he doesn't like staying on his feet too much. So he can walk, but he doesn't like it, so it's probably hurting. So please pray for him, no more pain, further healing, strength, stamina, energy, endurance, and so forth for our little Chief, the dog, who I have plans for him anointing a certain place in East Jerusalem that's an abomination before it goes down. You can use your imagination about how Chief will anoint it. You might have double anointing, one a little bit more solid than the other. People are talking that one of Iran's rockets may hit Jerusalem and take out the Dome of the Rock or something like that. No, I'm not telling you to pray for that on YouTube. I wouldn't do that. But I mean, it's a possibility. It could happen. Years ago, we thought that would happen with Saddam Hussein. Never did. Okay, that's what I think I've covered everything. So please pray for me, Moshe, and my wife Rivka, for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances and our health to improve. And I'm using red light therapy with some pretty good results. And pray the Lord shows me more about how to do that. Yesterday I started combining some supplement with it that I had given up on, and it seems the combination of them does something pretty good. It's for the eyes. It's interesting. It does help. But okay, that's my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice or anything like that, but I just enjoy it. Okay, and pray for, and I brought it up for a prayer request. Oh. Pray for better videos, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and pray for the birds and the dogs that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. And I have to apologize to you people again. I made another mistake, but it has nothing to do with the Bible at all, nor prophecy or anything like that. I'm a foodie, and this is a food mistake that I made. And I'm sorry, and I want to explain the mistake I made. I said the Israelis are eating Arab food, and the Arab food is junk and crap. All right. Now, as I've defined previously, the Ashkenazi Jews, which are a minority here in Israel, basically you can get what I would call real Jewish food, that I know to be Jewish food, in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and not many other places in Israel. Maybe in the West Bank they make it and stuff like that. But the other Israelis are eating Arab food. But yesterday, I think as a result of this, the Lord got me to go on YouTube and study Arab food. So I looked at Turkish food, Saudi Arabia food, some other country, I think, too. Wait, I'm going to continue doing this again. But, Turkey is ours, it'll be ours. And so I went and looked at the Turkish food, which is a Muslim majority country. And I don't see any of this in Israel. And it looked fantastic. I mean, they eat stuff that's rather gross at times, like mussels and stuff like that, where you take the shell, you suck this, sputum-looking things out. You like mussels, go ahead, But I don't, but a lot of this stuff looked really good. I mean, really good, and I don't see that in Israel. And the Saudi food, the same. And I looked at other places. I'm trying to remember what those countries were. Maybe it was Jordan or could have been Iraq. But I'm going to go look at more today. What I found is, no, they're not eating Arab food. What it is here, I mean, some of it is Arab, like kebab and stuff like that. But what they're eating here is just, in my opinion, crap that they invented themselves. It's junky food. And I think they just brought it on themselves to eat this stuff. Now, you get a lot of Morocco salads here. And to be honest with you, they're not so bad at all, except they're cold salads that you keep in the refrigerator. And they come with a lot of hot spices, hot paprika, which is similar to a cayenne. It'll hit you. And, I don't want to eat a lot of cayenne with cold refrigerated salad. And to me, it doesn't, but it's not bad. But they have brought upon themselves their own junk. They're blind, they're deaf, and their food is junky. And it's not Arab food, it's something they brought on themselves. And I'm telling you, it's terrible food. The Israeli salad. Did you ever have one? I mean, I could think of 15 better salads to eat instead of an Israeli salad. Is it edible? Yeah, kind of. I don't enjoy it though. But I mean, I'd rather have a good Caesar salad, or there's a million other salads you could have that are really good. I used to go to Peppermill, if you remember them, years ago. They had this big salad thing. And I'd eat the whole thing. That's when I was lifting weights and working out and stuff. Much younger. I'd eat the whole thing, and it didn't have a name like a Caesar salad or anything. It was delicious, though. And, I used to go to a lot of places and eat big salads and have a good meal, and go to salad buffets and eat the salad. Yeah, the salads here are very, very disappointing. Very disappointing. The Arabs make much better bread than the Israelis do. I, over the years, learned to actually like pita bread. And, I could eat it, but, I'd much rather have San Francisco sourdough any day of the week, hands down, no doubt about it. Or a good long Italian bread, hands down, no doubt about it, than this pita bread stuff. You know, but the Arabs have all different kinds of breads. They have dishes where they take a loaf of bread and they put all the meats and the vegetables inside the bread and it's covered and they bake it in an oven. I mean, these things are fantastic foods, good foods. You don't see this in Israel. They don't like anything good here. They like junk. That's the only thing I can think of. The meat is terrible. If you buy the kosher meat here, it's the rabbis wash the meat with water. Then they salt it with tons of salt and let it sit. So right away you ruin the flavor of the meat, believe me. Then they wash it a second time and salt it a second time. You've completely destroyed the meat now. Is this a cruel joke on the people? There's nothing in the Bible about washing and salting the food. You're supposed to let the blood drip out on the floor, that's it. Okay? And this is them doing what they say is building a wall around the Torah. In other words, they're cursing Israel and making their life miserable, is what they're doing, and laughing about it. There's nothing in the Bible about koshering food. That's garbage. And there's nothing there. It's a clean animal and unclean animal, and all fruit and vegetables, It's stupid, okay? Yet they do it. And they ruin the meat. And people got too much salt in their system. So my wife goes to the Arab market and buys meat that's not kosher. What do I want to eat horrible meat for? There's no biblical basis whatsoever for it. So, that's one of their problems. So I pretty much gave up going to restaurants. I don't think I went to a restaurant in 6 months or something. Why? It's junk. Now, occasionally we get a food delivery of hamburgers, and that comes from a non-kosher place. So we don't have that putrid meat that they ruined with their make-believe kosher stuff, It's not real, they made it up. Curiously, chicken wings and the thighs, well, mostly the wings, are dirt cheap in Israel. Israelis consider that garbage. The chicken wings you would get like at Fridays or Applebee's or other places like that. I'm not going to say Hooters. You don't belong at Hooters. These are, I guess you can go to Hooters. It's just a stupid thing. But you can get these wings here, dirt cheap, so we make the wings. But we buy the non-kosher, so we don't have to put up with the ruining of the meat. They don't kosher fish, so you can buy fish from the regular kosher supermarkets. There's so many good things that they don't eat in Israel. So much. Now, they got Chinese food here, but I never had authentic Chinese food in Israel. It's all slopped up with sweet sauces. It's junky. Chinese food here doesn't look like any place else in the world. I don't know where they got it from, but it's certainly not. It's edible, let's put it that way. Some of it's not bad, but their sushi and sashimi is mediocre, medium grade usually. You can get much better elsewhere. It's medium grade. Did I ever eat Korean food here? Never saw it. Did I ever see Greek food here? Never saw it. Did I ever see authentic Italian food here? Not that I ever saw. Maybe it exists. They got a couple of Italian restaurants, but I doubt it's real. Cuban food, never saw it. Spain food, never saw it. Mexican food, never saw it. Good gourmet hot dogs, never saw it. Pizza, yeah, they got excellent pizza here. I cannot figure it out. Even in my little community, there's pizza that is excellent. Not just good, not very good, the low side of excellent, but still excellent. It's superb pizza. This is one of the mysteries of Israel. I can't understand it, but I do know very, very, very good pizza when I taste it, and this is very, very good pizza. And I have no explanation for it except it really is there. Can't figure this one out. What other kind of food don't they have here? Food from India? I never saw it. With Indian food, you gotta be careful. Some of their spices will blow your head off. You look like Roadrunner when he blows the smoke out of his ears. I mean, they got spices that are really dangerously hot, you know. And Indian food can be delicious. I don't see it here. Japanese food, yeah, I see some of it here. Is it good? It is good. Does it taste like the Japanese food I used to get in San Francisco? Yeah, kinda, but not as good, but kinda, yeah, yeah. They do have now KFC, and it doesn't taste quite. You gotta get the non-kosher kind, and then it'll be the same as what you get in America. They got McDonald's here. It's junk. I've had the kosher and the non-kosher. I think they're both not very good. It's not worth it. It's a lot of money for nothing. The soldiers love to eat McDonald's. Why, I can't tell you, but they do. There's Burger King here, but I have never had it. There are not that many. Pizza Hut, it's like the Pizza Hut in America. It's no good. I went over there once and all the guy had was some slices with tuna on it. They put tuna on pizza here. Tomato sauce, you know, and they put tuna on it. What do I think of pizza with tuna? Horrible. I mean, it's just awful. The tuna's dry, flaky. Oh, it smells like stale fish after the oven. I don't know. I wouldn't want to eat that. I have no idea why anybody would want to eat that. It was horrible. You got to take it off the pizza, and then it still smells. Oh, it's terrible. Pizza Hut is just like the Pizza Hut in other countries. As you know, it's not very good. As far as pizza go, the best you can give that rating is mediocre, you know? That's about it. English food, you know, they have their own style. I don't know from Scottish food or Irish food. I very little. I used to go to when I was in undergraduate school in New York, we used to go to eat. My university there, my college actually was 4 or 5 blocks from the New York Stock Exchange, and there was a lot of restaurants around there. So I went to there was an Irish bar we used to go to. It was very cheap. It was $1 something for a plate. They'd give you I remember I used to get a lot of times corned beef and cabbage and something else. And I didn't know the word then, and I would get a stein of Guinness or something like that. And it was really cheap. I think a stein was 25 cents. We're going back into the 60s. And it wasn't like Jewish kosher pastrami. It was okay. And they had other dishes there that were good, but it wasn't a real gourmet restaurant. It was a place for people that had a wanted to have a quick lunch and go back to work, in and out, and you didn't go sit down and wait to get served. You went on a counter and you told them what you wanted. They put it on the plate. You put it on your tray. You walked down. You paid the cashier. Then you ate. Then you go to the bar if you wanted a beer or something, and got it. So it wasn't a very good restaurant, but it was interesting. So I never saw Scottish or Irish food here. French food, they do have places, but I don't believe they're really good French food. I have had good French food more than once, and I don't believe they have it here. Now, I've had good dim sum food, if you know what that is, the Chinese food, and they don't have that here. They don't have authentic Chinese food either. They got their own Israeli aberration of Chinese food with sweet sauces, and it's not that. You could eat it, you could even enjoy it, but I don't know what it is you're eating. It's certainly not Chinese food. You can't figure it out. What else? Lebanese food, that you could probably get here. Lebanese food, when it's done right, that's Arab food, and I've had it done right, and it is good. Not like Israeli slop. It's really good. Then I maybe you could get it here. I don't know. Some of the Arab restaurants here are kind of interesting to go to. Usually they're not that great, but they're usually more fun than the regular Israeli restaurants, and at least they make you that good fresh bread thin Arab bread. They're not bad. Their meats are okay. There's nothing to write home about, but it's okay. I wouldn't dare go near them during the war. I would never walk in there. Let me think. Argentinian food they have, but it doesn't taste like food in Argentina. I've been in Argentina. It doesn't taste like it, but they got Argentine restaurants that are kosher, so they ruin the flavor and taste and texture of the meat. So it's not really Argentine food. Texas barbecue cooking. There's actually a guy in the Golan Heights that does a barbecue restaurant, and it's not like Leon's barbecue in San Francisco, if you ever were there in years past, or Texas barbecue or Mississippi or anything like that barbecue, but it's pretty darn good. He does a good job, he really does. He's the only guy that makes authentic bagels in Israel that I ever found. Now, I think in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem you can get real bagels. Other than that, they don't even make. They make bagel-like objects in most of Israel. It's shaped like a bagel and it's junk. I eat it because it's all I could get, but it's junk. See, that's the story of Israel. The food is junk. Did I ever have a real cherry or strawberry cheesecake in Israel? Yeah, they do have it. It's hard as heck to find, though. Mostly they have synthetics in there that taste like cheap imitations that are not worth eating. But yeah, if you dig enough, you could find it. I certainly remember having it. Could you get creamed corn in Israel? No, they don't know it exists. Creamed corn, non-existent. Imagine that. Creamed corn, non-existent. The Heinz vegetarian beans with the sauce. Occasionally you can get that brand, the actual Heinz, they import it. You could get that occasionally, right? But they got their own counterfeit version of it that's just trash. It's not worth eating. You can't even eat it. It's so bad you can't even eat it. And people buy it and eat it here. They go to pizza stores and buy some really atrocious, crappy pizza here. And they put not only tuna on it, they'll put corn on it. All the crazy things, I can't understand it. Chocolate, you can get fantastic chocolate in Israel. Made in Israel chocolate will run right up there with Belgian and Swiss chocolates. maybe not exactly as good, but then on the other hand, maybe they are about as good. They're very, very good. Another surprise, the chocolate is superb. White chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, this chocolate, that, it's all very, very good. Potato chips in Israel, crap. But potato chips are junk anyway, it's not worth eating. Uh, Popcorn, you can buy the same brands. You get that one with the picture of the old man on it, whatever they call it, I don't remember. You can get that same brand here. It's popcorn, it works. What else? Soup. None of the supermarkets I ever saw in Israel have canned soup. You see, people here need help. I'm telling you, they need help. They don't even know how to eat. They get all their soups in a powder. Boil water, dump the soup in, and that's. Could you get real Japanese ramen noodles here? I don't know where. Maybe, but I don't know where. Maybe they have it in Tel Aviv or something, but I have no idea. I doubt they do. Are the bakery products good? Yeah, they're edible. I mean, most of them I don't enjoy. They're a type of food that has no appeal to me. Most of the bread in Israel is puke. But the bread in America is made to taste good, but it's junk too, like Silver Top or Wonder Bread. That's garbage, it tastes good. Yeah, you can get bread here, but it's generally not great bread. What else? I'm thinking. Colombian food, never saw it here. Brazilian food, those meat restaurants, I think somebody has that in Israel, but I don't know if it's any good. It'll be kosher and it'll be crap meat, so why bother going? That's where they have the, what do they call them? They call them cowboys, the guy that cut the meat. They have the meat on a skewer, they come to the table and you get unlimited meat, and they cut the meat, lands in your plate. I don't remember what they call them, a vaquero or caballero or something like that. But a real Brazilian restaurant's a treat. They don't have that. They wouldn't have that because they'd kosher the meat and run it. I said Cuban food they don't have. Peruvian food they don't have with all the peanut sauces. They don't have that. Thai food, they have it. It's good, it's interesting. Is it real Thai food? Not so good. Vietnam food, I used to love eating Vietnamese food in San Francisco. They don't have it here. See what I'm saying? It's a food deprived region. It's food diminished. The stuff they get is junk. Really, I mean, it's just crap. It's not worth going to the restaurants and eating it. I'm telling you, it's just junk. I get the hamburgers delivered once in a blue moon. No, we get it maybe once or twice a month. They're non-kosher meat. They taste good. Every now and then I'll have a pizza delivered, and every now and then I'll have this sweet sauce Chinese food delivered. Very rarely with the pizza. I haven't had a pizza delivered here in at least 6 or 8 months, and the Chinese food maybe I can go 3 months without having it once. The food stinks. The only way to survive is my wife cooks extremely well, and she buys the non-kosher food, and it's edible. It's very good that way compared to what you're going to get in the kosher supermarkets, and pay more for it. You're paying another 15-20% in the kosher market versus the non-kosher for the food, and you're getting worse food. That's worse for you because it's loaded with salt, and it's tough and has no flavor. The fish is good. If you go to a fish restaurant, you can get pretty good fish here, but you have to deal with the bones, which I don't enjoy, but I can do it, but it's annoying. They got pretty good fish, you know, St. Peter's fish, which I think is a tilapia. They got several different kinds of fish. You get a lot of salmon in Israel, and it's good. You can grill it, cook it, bake it, make sushi with it, and yeah, it's fine. Tuna, it's tuna, you know, it's fine. They don't salt and water down the fish, so you could escape the rabbi's punishment when you use when you eat the fish. So yeah, the fish can be good. Israel has great cheeses, really, really, really good cheeses, and they got great yogurt. I don't like yogurt that much, but they got great yogurt, and you can get good fruits and vegetables here, no doubt about it. And the condiments, the seasonings, the sauces and stuff, they're pretty good. You can get excellent coffee in Israel, imported coffee, excellent. I suppose you can get all kinds of tea as well, although I'm not a tea drinker. The milk is good. The juices are good. They don't have the frozen vegetables like you have in America, where you got the bird's eye with, you know, flavored and seasoned. They don't have that here. TV dinners, forget about it. They don't have that here. Nope. They're a food-deprived culture, believe me. The only ones that I think here that eat well are the Ashkenazi Jews that live together. Most of them are Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox, that have restaurants that serve the Eastern European foods, and they eat pretty good, because a lot of this is not meat intensive. So while when it calls for meat, they will use kosher meat, which stinks, but they won't be using a lot of it, so you can get by that way. But going to a kosher steakhouse in Israel is stupid. You're never going to get a good feed, ever. Going to a non-kosher steakhouse can be rewarding. There's one, takes about a half hour to get to from here, and it's pretty good, but I don't bother going over there because the steaks we make at the house are better. And it's very expensive now, so why bother? So what am I overlooking? Food. Russian food, they have that. A lot of that. Oh, if you live in the area where the French people live in Israel, which is near Netanya somewhere, I understand they got real French food there. They got French bakeries and everything. I have never gone there and tried it, but people say they do. So yeah, if you live around there, you might be able to get real French food. I expect it would be. In a lot of the Russian areas, which Tiberias has a lot of Russians, and you go into the supermarkets, they have a lot of food they import from Russia, including different kinds of pork, sausages, and salamis, and stuff like that. And what else? Singaporean food, never heard of it here. Never. See, I grew up in New York, and you could eat, if you want, Cuban food, Spanish food, Venezuelan food, Peruvian food, Argentine food, Brazil food, Russian food, English food, Irish food, Scottish food, German food. Yeah, German food we used to eat I was around 86th Street in New York, and I never saw that in Israel. You know. So you see, you know, in San Francisco was like that too. You could eat anything, you know, you want it. You just had to go look for it, and it was easy to look for. And you don't have that here. You just don't. So rest assured, the way it is today is not the way it's going to be. 2/3 of what's here now is going to be cut off, and when the rest come in, they're going to bring their food and their, delicacies from all over the world, and we'll be rolling in good food, I'm quite sure. Right now, we're quite deprived. Okay? So that was my apology, and I'm going to research Arab food a little bit more probably today, and I'll report back. I'll try some other countries and study their food. So I went 3 hours today. How about that? All right. So I hope you got something out of it, and we'll be watching and listening. And if it does go down, the internet may get cut off. I don't know. The electric may cut off, but it may not. But when you read about Israel, after this, in the aftermath, it says they will rebuild the waste cities, the old places. It doesn't say we're rebuilding the modern cities. They still are here. So Iran attacking the military bases lends itself to that too. I'm sorry, I should have included that earlier. So there you have it. And Iran, Iraq, and Syria are going to go down for the count. So is Gaza, so is Lebanon, so is Yemen, Egypt, probably Jordan. And it's going to be a big mess. But it's necessary. So don't worry, it's just prophecy being fulfilled. I'm out. Thanks.